meeting address. Okay.
Thank you, Shangela, for that introduction, and thanks everyone for coming today. So I'm going to present my thesis research, Factors Influencing Ridership in a Zero-Fare Bus System. This is the case of Intercity Transit in Thurston County, WA. Before I start with everything, I want to ask you a question. What does public transit mean to you? Is it an undividable part of your daily routine, or a money-saving but time-consuming travel method? Let's just keep that in mind for now and go through a couple of concepts with me. Public transit, also known as public transportation, public transport, mass transit, or simply transit. The definition contains several keywords. It's in form of group travel, it's available to general public, it's scheduled, it has fixed routes and a posted fee. On the other hand, there is no such strict definition of what kinds of transport methods should be included. Some well-acknowledged examples are city buses, trolley buses, tramways and passenger trains, rapid transit, and ferries. Public transit has several advantages that people can benefit from. By using public transit more frequently, we consume less fossil fuel, we emit less greenhouse gas, we produce less pollution, and we can reduce congestion. In fact, all these are realized by reducing the number of single-occupied vehicles on the road. The more you ride a bus, the less you drive alone. Besides that, owning a car also costs you a lot. Using public transit can save you an average of $10,000 annually by avoiding expenses from car payment, insurance, fuel, maintenance, and repairs, as well as parking. Public transit also helps people with employment, not only creating jobs on its own, but also allow low-income people to get, who don't have a personal car to get access to more opportunities. Such accessibility also includes allowing seniors and people with disabilities to get to healthcare facilities, allowing students from low-income families to get to educational institutions. Using public transit also allows you to get incidental exercise and prevent you from anxiety when driving alone or stuck in congestion. Having that said, probably you have already been familiar with all these benefits. Well, let's go back to the question at the beginning. What does public transit mean to me? If you think again on the definition keywords, you will find that airplanes may also meet all the requirements, right? People travel in group, open to general public, time scheduled, routes fixed, and fees posted. But we also know that we don't usually think of airplanes when mentioning public transit. Why? Because it's expensive, difficult to use, too long to wait, or whatever reason. Most people would not consider airplanes when they need to commute. So here comes my keyword. This is a personal definition of mine. A travel method must meet people's needs for their daily commute to be recognized as public transit. I was born and raised in Wuhan, China, a very populous area. Public transit are developed and people use it a lot. I had my undergraduate in Montpellier, France. Medium populous. Public transit is also a very popular option for traveling. These two cities are not the busiest cities in their countries. But from my experience, because I used to use public transit a lot, onboard spaces could be very, very crowded, especially in rush hour, literally every single day. People there rely heavily on public transit to commute. So when I arrived in Olympia for the first time, one of the first things that I noticed is that people do not ride buses a lot. Instead, people here rely heavily on driving and mostly driving alone. And the next thing I noticed is that people do not need to pay to ride a bus here. Meet Intercity Transit. People may or may not be familiar with it. The key point here is the Intercity Transit is the primary transit agency in Thurston County, covering a relatively large area and currently implementing a zero fare project. And what is zero fare? In a zero fare transit system, people literally do not need to pay when using the transit services. Some other agencies implementing similar policies call that fare free. But in the case of Intercity Transit, fares are subsidized by sales tax revenue. Why they suspend fares? Because it is the most economical, effective, and fastest way to make fare collection more efficient and to integrate with peer transit systems. These two goals are decided by the community back to 2019 and were prioritized when the project was put onto implementation. Another reason makes Intercity Transit to make this decision was that their fares income was actually negligible compared to their total net revenue. The project was initially expected to last 5 years. Then the pandemic occurred and they just decided to extend the period. During the pandemic, people's perceptions of shared enclosed spaces were significantly impacted. As a result, numerous public services industries were severely impacted, including public transit. We can see from the graph, the bus ridership has dropped dramatically right after the implementation of zero fare project, even though the population in the service area keeps growing. We all know that pandemic should take the majority of the responsibility, but I still wonder, is there any other factor preventing the ridership to recover rapidly? Here comes my research questions. What factors could explain why eliminating fares did not sustainably increase ridership for intercity transit as initially anticipated? And more broadly, what factors influence ridership in a zero-fare public transit system? To answer these questions, I created an online survey expecting to receive opinions from Thurston County residents. The tool I used was Survey 123. I used different types of questions to collect different types of data. The most important variables are people's bus riding frequency, their suggestions on service improvement, and their locations of residence. These are the primary variables when conducting my quantitative analysis, qualitative analysis, and geospatial analysis, respectively. The survey was open from February 16th to March 31st this year, and I tried different ways to distribute the promoting flyer, and this is my flyer. I sent it out via Inside Evergreen email system. I asked staff from Food Co-op to help send it out through their website and social media. I also posted at several different locations on campus and downtown. And most importantly, I got help from Intercity Transit staff. They agreed to help me post the flyers at their bus stops. And thanks to them, I finally received 547 valid responses by the end of survey period. This is a number that I would have never imagined. Bus riding frequency was used as the dependent variable. The other variables were considered independent. So when here on the left is an example of ordinary logistic regression test. The tested independent variable is the number of vehicles owned by the household. In this kind of graph, if two lines intersect, that means the predicted probabilities of the two corresponding categories will also be reversed in order, which in that case means there exists a correlation between the two tested variables. However, as we can see, there's no intersection in this plot, which indicates that no correlation exists. Therefore, we cannot say that the number of vehicles of the household influence one person's bus riding frequency. On the right hand is an example of chi-squared test. And the tested independent variable is income level. In a mosaic plot like this, a standardized residuals are visualized by different colors. The darker blue a block is, the more likely it is for the correlation to be positive. And the darker the red is, the more likely for it to be negative. This plot actually matches my assumption. People with low income are less likely to ride a bus. People with low income tend to ride bus more frequently. People with high income are less likely to ride a bus frequently and more likely to ride a bus at a low frequency. The numerical results of this test also allows me to say that there is a statistically significant correlation between people's income levels and their bus riding frequency. Unfortunately, other statistical analysis did not return anything significant. Further research might be needed on this topic in the future. As for geographical analysis, I got access to the bus stop location. This data via an Intercity Transit geospatial portal, and successfully created a walking time buffer zone. If you live in a red zone like this, you can walk to a bus stop within 5 minutes, etc. As for the geospatial analysis, these indicators right here were calculated from the survey results data with a meaningful scenario, just so our audience could have a more intuitive view of what to expect seeing from these research results. The question here is a multiple choice question. Participants were expected to select as many options as applicable. And it seemed that people were trying to fit their own open-ended answers into these categories. So I decided to continue to use the same categories for the next section, qualitative analysis. As for the open-ended question, I received 339 responses. What I did to conduct this analysis was to look through each single responses, assign them with a unique category if applicable. Then I classified all the tagged responses and counted the account of responses in each category and calculated the proportion of each category in all. Then I managed to list the categories in order, beginning with the most mentioned topic, extended operating hours. This is also aligned with the result of the last multi-choice question. And other key points, I listed them in order so that we can see as it scrolls down. Another key point that not so many people mentioned, but very crucial, is safety concern. The fact that someone has ever experienced such bad experience is really disappointing. In fact, safety has long been an issue for similar zero-fare systems. It reduces the threshold for riding a bus. Both good people and bad people can make use of it. I would say the only way to address the problem is to enhance drivers' training. Here at the end, I'm going to show the key takeaways of my research and also express my gratitude to who attend the presentation today, who have always been supportive to me. Thank you so much. And I'm open to questions now.